little over a year now, but Reed called him his new partner to differentiate Terry from his old partner, Elliot DeBlassis, who'd moved to Boston at the insistence of his new wife, Helena, who was from there. She'd gotten sick of the heat and humidity that were as much a part of the city as gumbo and jazz, along with, of course, the crime and the gangs and the never-ending violence and threat of danger to her husband that was part of being a cop in New Orleans. "She's the smart one," was what Reed had told DeBlassis at the time. Parting from his longtime partner and closest friend would have been hard, except by then he'd become so emotionally numb that nothing had really bothered him anymore. "Yeah," he replied to Terry. Terry was 33, about Reed's own height of 6'2", husky and blonde, where Reed was lean and dark, and at the moment packing an extra 20 pounds or so from sympathy eating, while his wife, Mia, had been pregnant. The infant was 3 months old now, and Terry was looking haggard from lack of sleep. "You go on home. I'll do the paperwork." That was the thing about crime. It always came with paperwork. Reams of it. Terry was a good guy. He even hesitated a minute. "You sure?" Reed waved him away. "Tell Mia she owes me one." "Will do. Thanks." Terry took off down the line of police vehicles that had parked alongside the curb toward his own seen-better days Honda Accord. Reed watched Terry leave, then got in the Explorer and headed toward the 8th District Station House. People moved along the sidewalks in ones and twos, little more than black shapes in the darkness, most of them holding the plastic cups in which they were allowed to carry alcoholic beverages on the streets as they flitted from bar to bar. The bars had no closing time, and the people who frequented them all had about the same amount of restraint, or lack thereof, which led to a lot of booze-related crime. The Christmas decorations were up, twinkly festoons of greenery hanging from the wrought iron balconies, wreaths on the doors of every other shop, red bows on every other post. Like the quarter itself, the decorations looked slightly seedy, shabby, raffish. So late at night, the atmosphere was straight out of Dickens, or Interview with the Vampire. He was just turning onto Royal Street when his cell phone rang. A glance at the name on his screen made him frown. Elizabeth Towns? He didn't know anybody by that name, as far as he could remember. Suspicion narrowed his eyes. Only a very few people had his personal cell phone number. "Well," he answered. "Hey, Dick, you want to see what I'm talking about? You get yourself over to Grandma's house and come on down that alley back there." Even if the Dick hadn't been a dead giveaway, it was a smart-ass way of shortening detective. Reed would have recognized the voice instantly, despite its current barely audible whisper. It belonged to Hollis Bayard. Holly was an 18-year-old street tough whose rap sheet ranged from theft, stealing things like cell phones from unsuspecting tourists, to underage drinking, to marijuana possession, to assault on a police officer. All of which, fortunately for him, occurred before he had turned 18 2 months before. Since the magic birthday that had made him a legal adult, he'd managed to avoid being picked up. Reed had zero confidence that Holly's luck would last. "Shit's poppin' right now." The whisper was the giveaway. Holly was close to whatever was going down. If he knew Holly, he was too damned close. Reed felt his gut clench. For whatever unfathomable reason, he felt a small amount of responsibility toward the kid. The quarter was one of those places where minding your own business was prized. You didn't, you could get yourself killed. Lately, minding his own business wasn't Holly's strong point. Grandma's house was slang for the headquarters of the One-Teners gang, a murderous bunch of drug and gun traffickers that even the cops were afraid of. If Holly got in their way, he'd be floating face down in the muddy brown waters of the Mississippi before morning. "You haul ass out of there," Reed ordered. He was already hanging a hard left and putting the pedal to the metal. Luckily,